Hi guys, welcome back. In today's video we're going from this to this, and now let me show you how. So ideally you want to be starting off with a Recaro CS off-the-shelf aftermarket seat, which already comes with this subframe. But I'm actually starting off with a Recaro CS seat out of a Renault Clio or an Megane RS. You could also use Focus RS seats. The ones that came with Recaro CS's, the Focus RS's, I think you could spec them from factory with Recaro CS. But whichever Recaro CS seat you start with, unless it's an off-the-shelf aftermarket seat, they will have car-specific subframes. So these monstrosities here. So step one would be to convert it from a car-specific seat, which is a Renault in my case, to an aftermarket Recaro CS seat. So to do that, we'll have to unbolt the seat base from these monstrosities and replace that with this. Once you've done that, you can just bolt on the seat bases onto these new subframes, and it's really quite straightforward. Just 4 bolts. And then your seat's converted. So now that you have a Recaro aftermarket CS seat, the seat backs will just bolt straight onto here with the OEM bolts that came with the seats. These bolts here, they are M12 with a pitch of 1.25, so quite a fine thread on this. So make sure you actually get the correct bolts if you haven't got any. In my case, 4 of these bolts were missing, so I was trying to order them online and there was nothing in UK. They had to come from Germany, and they were about £30, I think, which is about $40 for a set of 4 of these, which isn't too bad, but the lead time was too long. And then I actually tried searching by the part number. Here's this part number for this bolt here. And you could order it through a VAG dealer network, but the trouble is they sell them singularly if they have them in stock, but they don't keep them in stock. So I had to buy a minimum quantity of 25, which meant it would have cost me around about £80, which is about $100 for 25 of these bolts when I only need 4. So I decided to just buy something that's got the correctly pitched thread and in the correct grade, so 8/8. And these came next day from pretty much any supplier that does hardware. So then you can just bolt the seat back to the new subframe, and once you've done that, you can move on to step 2, which is getting the adapters, which are vehicle specific. So in my case, they're e90/f30 adapters. So a Recaro adapter set will include this bracket, this little spacer, this bracket which is already bolted on, and this seatbelt mount. This is for 4-door or 5-door versions only. It's not used on the coupe and convertibles because seatbelts mount in a different location. And this little cover, that's just the same cover for the other side. And then what you'd need to do is you'd need to use a set of your car specific bases. In my case, I'm using F30 bases, which have the same bolting pattern as the E90 bases, but this is my E90 seat here. So what you'd need to do is you'd need to unbolt it from there and there, and the same on the other side. So you're essentially left with just the car specific sliders. Then you'll take your brackets and you'll bolt them on to where the OEM seats used to be, like so. And then you can attach that subframe onto these brackets, assemble the seat base. If you hadn't attached the seat back, assemble the seat back, and then that's pretty much it. So you still got your car specific seatbelt pre-tensioner, and you can just plug it into whichever car you've got, because that still comes from your car, so it's not going to have any issues. And finally, a question about airbags. So these seats came with Renault airbags, and realistically I could wire them in if I modified the connector and just wired it into the BMW SRS system, but I don't know whether it's going to work, and I don't really want to take the risk, nor do I have the patience for it at this time. So I've taken the airbags out for weight saving, of course, because race car, and that's just a hollow cover that's in there. What you could do, you could actually replace this hollow cover with a non-airbag cover. It fits because the seats are symmetrical from left to right. So in the near future, what I might do is I might get a pair of these and replace the airbags, the airbag covers, just so the seat is smoother and it's all correct. Or I might look into getting the BMW version of these side airbags, but that's a very far-fetched idea. You would then need to go and code the seat airbags out, just so your car doesn't trigger an airbag light and it doesn't look for the seat airbags. And then essentially you could just bolt the seats in and off you go. Now, I've also decided to replace the seat skins, or the seat covers if you like, or retrim them essentially. You could buy these seat covers directly from Recaro. These are genuine Recaro ones. They're not super expensive. This is, I think they're called Ambler leather, and it's of a very good quality. It's vinyl, it's not genuine leather, but it matches the e90 seat and the pattern in the leather very, very well. So this is actually perfect for what I'm going to use it for, because my interior is black and this is going to work just fine. You can get custom ones of these if you have a funky colored interior, so like saddle brown or maybe oyster or champagne, but that's custom work and obviously cost of materials. You're probably looking at a couple of $1,000s, about £1,500 for a pair of these covers to match your interior if you wanted to do that. So let me get this put back together and slap it all in the car. As for the actual process of replacing these, it's very, very simple. I mean, Recaro CSs are probably one of the easiest seats that you'll ever do this on. So the attachment points on these, you've got these plastic rails, if you like, which just clip onto clips on the seat foams, and you've got these velcros which obviously clip on or attach to the velcros that are in the seat. So this is the seat foam, there are the velcros, and then you've got these red clips which basically, with a screwdriver, if you just pry them open, will just pop out, and then the skin just comes off, as easy as that. And as for the foam coming off the seat, it's just as simple as that. It literally just lifts off, and then you've got some more velcros here, and you can just take this off from here just like that. So really, really straightforward, simple process with these. Usually if you're buying second-hand seats, there will be wear on the bolsters, there will be wear on the base bolsters as well. So what I've done is I've switched driver side and passenger side, so the bolster that's getting the most wear is going to be the bolster that used to be the inner one is now going to become the outer one, and the inner bolsters, which are now quite badly worn, will stay on the inside, and hopefully this will prolong the life of the seat. So I've already done the seat base. As for the actual process of stripping the seat skin, again, it's super, super simple. Just get a little screwdriver or something, plastic perhaps, that's not going to rip any of the leather, and just pry it up. And what you've got then is just this edge with a rubber seal, and this rubber seal literally just slides in into this recess here, and that's it. That's how the seat is held back together. To get to it from the back, you just got to pry open this little cover here, and there's two little Torx screws. They are notorious for stripping threads when tightening them, so literally tighten them by hand, and just imagine the threads are made of butter and you'll be fine. And then this side you don't really need to touch, that's the ejectocito button. This is what the seat backs look inside like. These are the bolts that hold the cover for the airbag, and the non-airbag cover is held in by slightly different bolts. If you're buying car specific seats like these are out of a Renault, you'll have an additional lever here, which for the life of me I cannot figure out how to remove, and it looks like it's held in by this piece here, which I think is welded onto this main pipe here. So going to have to leave it in. It's going to be under the seat and nobody's really going to be able to see it. But yeah, that's the only annoying bit that I can't really get rid of. That still is going to have remnants of Renault on the seat. And as for the final part, this here is the adjustment shaft. It's got a degree of idiot proofing on it, so it can only go in one way. So when you're inserting it, you have to make sure that both of these adjusters are aligned, because it can only be inserted in a certain way, and unless they're aligned, it's not going to go through. So if you look at the pattern there, you essentially have to match it to the pattern here, like that. But then if the other side isn't aligned, then it won't slide through. On the Renault, the adjusters are on the inside because they have a skinny center console and the seating position is weird, where on the BMW you want to move these adjusters to the other side. So all you have to do is either get one of these covers if you're not using airbags, and it's already going to have the hole, so you can ditch the airbags and do it that way, or if you are using airbags, you can just drill a hole in here and slide this shaft through, and then essentially attach the adjuster to the bottom of the shaft. So this is the adjuster, right, and it goes on the opposite way from where you insert the shaft. So in our case, we're going to insert from inside to the outside. Then there is a retaining clip that looks a little bit like this, just slightly bigger, to hold the shaft in place, and then the adjuster just clips onto the end of the shaft, and then again that's got the same idiot proofing pattern on there, so it can only go on one way, so don't force it if it's not going on. So I'm just in process of assembling the Recaro brackets onto the f30 e90 seat bases, f30 in my case, because I was able to buy this whole set together and I didn't want to dismantle my old seat. And this is how I'm putting them together. They were actually assembled wrong. So initially I bought this whole kit assembled, and when I put it in the car, the seats were about 3 inches too far out to the outside, and whoever assembled them previously had actually had to modify the little anti-rotation bit for the seat belt attachment, because it was hitting the outside of the car, the sill on the side of the car, because it was way too close to the outside of the car. So I've disassembled everything, and I've realized that as much as you try and use idiot proofing, there will still be idiots. They'll be oblivious to it. But anyway, this is how you're supposed to assemble them properly. So these are the part numbers for the brackets, and it looks like they have some sort of date on them. And this is how you assemble them. So this is going to be the right hand side seat, so we're not going to use left hand drive, right hand drive, because in UK that's driver side and everywhere else is left hand side. But anyway, this is the right hand side seat. So this bracket will go on like so, and this bracket will go on like so. I have used different hardware for this attachment here because it's very difficult to get to the nut on the other side. So I've just used a bolt and a serrated nut, and that's made the assembly of this joint fairly easy. Now on here we've got the original BMW bolts, and they actually have anti-rotation features on them on the bolt side. So you pop it through, and inside there's an anti-rotation feature that will stop it from spinning, and then you just pop the nut on, and that's the same for this side. So that's the anti-rotation feature, and that's how the bolt goes on, and it's held in there. So you'll get this into place. Pop the bolt through, and then get the nut on it, just like that. And then at the back, these bolts, they've also got anti-rotation features on them. So to do them up, you've got to only spin the nut and not the bolt. So OEM bolt on here, OEM bolt on here, OEM bolt on there, and then aftermarket one on here just for ease of access because the seatbelt assembly is blocking the access to the other side. And once these initial brackets are on, we are ready to go to step 2. So step 2 would be these covers here, which will essentially cosmetic covers. Will just cover the side of the seat, and then on top of them you'll have the seatbelt attachment. You will not need to use this on coupe and convertible models, or if you're running harnesses and you don't have OEM seat belts. So that will go there, and on this side you just have this spacer bracket that just drops on there just to even the seat out, because you've used 2 additional brackets on this side. You just need something on this side just to raise the seat up, just to make sure that it's level when you're sitting on it. And then the subframes will go on. You've got to make sure that the subframes fit without any issues, and they can only go on in one position. Only one set of holes lines up, so you'll have a bolt here, bolt there, bolt here, and bolt here. So it's, with these particular ones, it's the 3rd hole from the back and it's the 4th hole from the front in my case, and I'm using aftermarket hardware. So M8, I think this is M8 by 30. I'm pretty sure you could use 25 as well, but M8 by 30 worked just fine. So yeah, M8 by 30 with some serrated nuts, and that's the order in which you have to assemble it. And there we go, all bolted down. So cosmetic cover, seatbelt cover, and then bracket. Then on this side, bracket, spacer, and then the subframe. So now seat base can go on, all bolted down nicely. And the skin is on the back. So now just a matter of attaching the seat back to the seat base and then putting them in the car. And there we go, all assembled, ready to drop in. I've ended up using my e90 seatbelt buckles with pre-tensioners, just because the connector's the same and you don't have to repin them. And everything is in place, ready to go. Seatbelt attachment, so that's going to bolt on there. The backrest attachment, that's working as it should. And the only thing I've got left to do is just shorten these bolts ever so slightly, because they're supposed to be 16mm, and I think my one's 20 or 25mm, so I need to make them a little bit shorter, otherwise they'll come all the way through and hit the leather. So I'm just going to trim these bolts down a little bit and drop these seats in, just in process of connecting everything up. So all I have running to it is the wires from the seatbelt buckle. So one is to notify you that the seatbelt buckle is undone, and the other one is the firing circuit for the pre-tensioner, and they go into the original connector, and then the original connector just mounts onto this bracket here, and that's it. The rest has been deactivated, and this should work as it should, as in properly. And there you go, all done. The seating position is actually absolutely perfect. The way the seatbelt bolts on is not ideal, because as I mentioned earlier in the video, these have been modified, the seatbelt mounts, and somebody's cut this little anti-rotation feature off, so it still catches, but not all the way. The good news is that bolt is going to do most of the work, and that's secured sufficiently, in my opinion. That's the fascia trim. Almost forgot a little tip. If you are installing these and you have similar brackets, a good idea might be to attach the seat belt to the seat first, because there really isn't enough space for you to get a Torx bit and a 3/8 drive to tighten this bolt. So make sure you start with attaching the seat belt and then bolting the seat down, because I've just put these in and I've had to take them back out just to fasten that bolt. And everything works as it should, everything's plugged in. And honestly, I think these seats are probably the best seats for any car, full stop. I know people tend to retrofit f80 seats, M2 seats, M3, M4 seats, and they're good, they look great, but I think they're nothing compared to these. These are, in my opinion, probably the pinnacle of automotive seating for any car. They're comfortable. You could actually do a long journey in them without any issues. I'll be driving the car to Germany again, so that's a solid day's drive, and I've had them before in my E36 and they were great, absolutely great. Some other seating is heavy, sometimes you can't get them to be manual, and ideally I like my seats manual. So for example, if you're fitting f80 seats, usually they're electric, and if they're electric they sit too high and they're quite heavy and so on and so forth. Where with these, I think it's literally seating perfection. It's simple, they're easy to work on, it's straightforward, you can get covers for them easily, you can get parts for them easily, they're not difficult to install, and they're good for average sized drivers, they're good for larger sized drivers. So I'm 6'4", and this is one of the seats that I feel the most comfortable in. So yeah, there you go. Hope you like the tutorial and you can find something useful from it. If you have any questions, as always, just drop me a message through Instagram or Facebook page, and I'll always be happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you're looking to do something similar and you're looking for brackets, components and things like that, use AMX Recaro. He's someone I've used before. I bought parts from him for these seats and he's just absolutely incredible. His customer service is second to none, and he's just a really decent guy to deal with. So if you wanted to try something like this and you perhaps bought a set of Renault seats like I did, and you needed the adapters and the subframes and so on and so forth, give AMX a shout. And hope you like this one, and see you again in the next one. Take care.